Donnie McClurkin's heartbreaking revelation that's shaking the gospel world. Just moments ago, gospel legend Donnie McClurkin shared a deeply emotional message that has left fans in shock and searching for answers. Known for his powerful voice that has carried millions through some of their darkest moments, McClurkin now finds himself in the midst of his own storm, and what he just revealed is nothing short of shocking. Stay with us, because what you're about to hear will change everything. Donnie McClurkin is a name that resonates in every corner of the gospel community. His voice has soothed the brokenhearted, lifted the weary, and filled both churches and stadiums with a holy fire. From his timeless hits like Stand and We Fall Down to his deeply personal testimony of overcoming abuse, illness, and even personal controversies, Donnie has long been a symbol of spiritual strength and endurance. But just hours ago, he made a heartbreaking revelation that has left his fans stunned and in tears. This isn't another headline about a celebrity scandal or tabloid gossip. This is a cry from the heart, a truth so raw and vulnerable that it's sending shockwaves through the gospel world. For those who have followed Donnie McClurkin on his journey for decades, this message feels like a devastating personal turning point. What he shared is far more than a simple statement. It's an intimate confession that leaves us questioning everything we thought we knew about his journey. In today's video, we'll unpack the full story behind Donnie McClurkin's latest revelation. We'll break down the exact message he shared, explore why it's shaking the gospel community, and examine the events that may have led to this emotional moment. We'll also look at how fellow gospel artists, pastors, and fans are reacting across social media, connect hidden signs from recent interviews that now make perfect sense, and consider what this moment could mean for Donnie's future in ministry and music on a musical, spiritual, and personal level. You won't believe what we discovered from backstage chats, old footage, and Donnie's clandestine private struggles. The story becomes painful and personal at this point. You just cannot afford to miss this video if you have ever been inspired by his lyrics or found strength in his voice. Keep reading, because what you're about to discover could permanently alter your perception of this gospel classic. In a grim and unvarnished video that was uploaded to his verified social media accounts, Donnie McClurkin looked like a man who was obviously in pain rather than the polished, dominant performance we're accustomed to seeing. Sitting in what appeared to be his homeroom, wearing a basic black hoodie, Donnie stared directly into the camera and gave a speech that astounded followers around. His eyes were heavy and his voice was shaking. "I've always vowed to be honest with you, family, but I find it difficult to say this. I'm currently coping with something I never imagined I'd have to deal with again. A profound personal loss that has affected me more than anything in the last few years. I lost someone very close to me, not to fame, not to scandal, but to life," he said after pausing to gather his thoughts. Furthermore, mourning is indifferent to your level of spiritual strength. Your air is still taken away and your chest is crushed. McClurkin did not identify the person he lost in the first post, but later, sources close to the singer stated that it was a younger cousin who had been secretly suffering depression and whose death was unexpected and terrible. The fans were taken aback. Thousands of condolence and love messages poured into the comments section. However, the death wasn't the only thing that struck hard. Donnie's emotional state was the cause. "I'm exhausted," he said, "spiritually and emotionally as well as physically. Sometimes you can no longer give anything back to yourself after pouring out so much." This was more than grief. A man who was recognized for his spiritual strength showed vulnerability. The same guy who used to sing, "We fall down, but we get up," was now openly admitting that he was having trouble getting back up. He made a plea at the end of the speech, "Pray for me, please. Now more than ever, I need it. Don't suffer in quiet as my cousin did if you're going through something too. Don't endure your suffering in alone." Thousands of gospel fans, church leaders, and other musicians responded in real time to the video, which was shared on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube before going viral and gaining over 2.3 million views in less than 8 hours. This is where it becomes even more tragic though. We'll talk about Donnie's silent battles behind the scenes in the next section, including her issues with emotional isolation, spiritual tiredness, and melancholy, which may have contributed to her breaking point. What he's never stated in public up to this point might help to clarify why this statement goes well beyond a single moment of sorrow. To the world, a Grammy-winning singer, pastor, and gospel force. Donnie McClurkin's songs have helped millions of people get through their darkest hours. A soul that has endured some of the most difficult burdens known to man, many of them in silence, lies behind that strong voice. Although the gospel community has been rocked by his latest devastating declaration, Donnie has previously made references to emotional suffering or difficult spiritual struggles. In reality, a pattern of silent suffering starts to show up when you go back through his interviews, song lyrics, and public declarations throughout the years, the injury that never recovered completely. Donnie McClurkin is a well-known survivor of severe trauma. He was frank about having been sexually molested as a child, first by an uncle and subsequently by another male relative, particularly in his younger years. The abuse altered me and left long-lasting wounds on his spiritual and mental well-being. In a 2001 interview, Donnie revealed, "It broke something inside of me, but I never let it break my relationship with God." The effects of that childhood tragedy never really went away, even though he became well-known after his breakthrough hit, "Stan," and went on to become a prominent voice in gospel. Years later, he acknowledged that, while serving millions of people, he was emotionally aloof, confused, and furious for a considerable amount of time. Struggles with depression. Many admirers believed Donnie was unbeatable, but in private, he frequently struggled with depression, which he hardly discussed in public until recently. "There were seasons I would come off stage after singing about deliverance and healing and go back to my room and cry myself to sleep," Donnie admitted during a 2020 interview on a Christian talk show. Many fans were taken aback by McClurkin's statement, particularly those who had relied on his music throughout their own difficult times. "I felt like I was giving hope to everyone else, but had none left for myself." It made you realize something. Everyone experiences emotional suffering, even the most powerful spiritual leaders: solitude, loneliness, and singledom. Donnie's battle with loneliness has been a recurring theme in his narrative. He has previously acknowledged in interviews that he fears dying alone and has been open about his failed relationships and need for company. "I've never been married. I've tried. I've failed." He previously remarked, "I'm a broken man trying to keep it together, and sometimes the silence in my home screams louder than a crowd of thousands." Donnie's personal life has been remarkably quiet, possibly too quiet for a man who is revered all over the world. Fans have conjectured over the years about his intense self-examination, his lack of close public relationships, and the burden that must accompany constantly being the one expected to motivate others even at the expense of one's own well-being. Private suffering and public pressure. The strain to always be on never subsided as his career took off. Donnie was surrounded by people all the time, from traveling, preaching, singing, and attending important religious gatherings, but he frequently lacked the space necessary to recover. According to insiders, McClurkin started declining significant public appearances in recent years and stopped attending some gospel events. Some blamed it on aging or fatigue. However, a lot of people now think that his most recent video was emotional exhaustion, a silent decline into sadness and burnout that he had never before openly addressed. This leads us to the present day. Although his recent defeat may have revived old scars, it also revealed something that is rarely spoken in the gospel world: what occurs when religious leaders endure silent suffering. This, however, is the unexpected and devastating part. The gospel community didn't simply see Donnie McClurkin's heartfelt message of loss and tiredness, it reacted. What followed was a deluge of testimony, emotions, and tributes that not only demonstrated affection for Donnie, but also demonstrated the profound impact he has had on people's lives behind the scenes. Top gospel musicians, church leaders, and celebrities started sharing their comments on various platforms within minutes of Donnie's video becoming online. Many of them included heartfelt remarks, prayers, and personal anecdotes. Kirk Franklin shares a song and a prayer. One of the first people to reply was Kirk Franklin, a longtime friend and fellow gospel icon. Instead of making a statement, he shared a little video of himself and a piano on Instagram, whispering a tune that Donnie's early fans are familiar with. "Once everything has been done, you simply stand beneath it. You stood for so many, my brother. Let us stand for you now. We're lifting you up in prayer louder than ever," Kirk wrote. In only one day, that post received over 500,000 likes, and other musicians like Tasha Cobbs, Leonard, Jonathan McReynolds, CeCe Winans, and Leandria Johnson all expressed their support in the comments section. Donnie, you are loved. Donnie's heartwarming Instagram story about Tasha Cobbs saved my life. Tasha Cobbs Leonard revealed an honest behind-the-scenes confession on Instagram stories. YALL don't even know, she added, crying, when I was at my lowest, I was going to give up music. And Donnie McClurkin phoned me, he prayed with me, checked on me, and made sure I had someone to talk to when no one else even realized I was having trouble. I owe him everything. She went on to exhort her followers to pray with sincerity rather than merely using emojis. He supported us during our suffering. Let we now support him. Legends of the gospel speak. This goes beyond Donnie. Older generations of gospel legends even stepped in. Through her ministry's Facebook page, Shirley Caesar, often referred to as the Queen of Gospel, released a public statement. Donnie was a young man with a calling and a cry in his heart when I first met him. He didn't reveal weakness today. It was a ministry. Allow him to mourn. Her words held weight, particularly among elder gospel fans who had followed Donnie since the early days of the Donnie McClurkin Show and his iconic Live in London album. Let him rest and let the church remember. Even those with microphones get tired. Testimonies filled social media. On TikTok, the public's reaction was enormous. Within hours, recordings of fans expressing how Donnie's music had helped them get through hardships, including loss, abuse, sadness, and uncertainty, made the hashtag #NashPrayerForNani trend. With the comment, "We danced to the prayer at our wedding," a guy shared a video of himself holding a framed portrait of his late wife. Another woman wrote, "I was suicidal at 17. A youth pastor handed me Donnie's testimony. It saved me. I'll never forget it." It became evident that Donnie's influence extends well beyond his albums and performances. We played Stand at her funeral. Donnie gave me peace when I had none. Now he needs ours. He has physically restored broken spirits, saved lives, and helped those in their hour of need. The discussion expands to include ministry and mental health. However, this incident has also spurred a more extensive and long overdue discussion on the psychological and emotional costs of service in church and gospel circles. Nowadays, a lot of younger worship leaders and pastors are coming out and acknowledging that they have also been having difficulties. In support of Donnie, a number of people have recounted their own burnout experiences, urging churches to cease demanding perfection from spiritual leaders and instead begin safeguarding their well-being. Donnie's vulnerability just revealed something we've all known but never spoken. One widely shared tweet says, "We need to stop acting like our gospel heroes aren't human." And that's possibly the most potent aspect of this particular moment. For thousands of people who felt invisible, unheard, and spiritually worn out, Donnie McClurkin's suffering is now bringing about healing. However, it's still unclear what Donnie McClurkin's future holds. He's made hints about backing off. Some admirers are afraid of retiring. Some people think he's going to start a new phase of his ministry, one that is characterized by openness, relaxation, and a closer bond. One question keeps coming up as gospel enthusiasts, church leaders, and fans continue to digest Donnie McClurkin's unvarnished, heartfelt message. Does Donnie intend to leave the ministry? Is he setting the stage for a daring new chapter in his music career? Or is this the end of it? Donnie hasn't officially announced his retirement as of yet. However, there are indications that a significant change might be imminent if we look at his tone, body language, and previous interviews. A redefinition of purpose rather than a definitive conclusion. Hints of retreating. Donnie canceled 2 planned appearances in the days after his devastating video, one at a church revival in Florida and another at a significant gospel awards ceremony. Sources close to his team claim that he is taking some time off from ministry obligations to grieve and rest. According to insiders, a complete hiatus may be in place for the remainder of the year, even if no formal tour dates have been canceled. This is where things become fascinating though. Donnie has already discussed taking a backseat or reassessing his role. When questioned about his music and ministry's future, in 2021, Donnie said, "I think I've said all I need to say through music. What I'm learning now is how to listen more. I don't want to keep performing if I'm not evolving." In the same year, he acknowledged on TBN's Praise the Lord that he had considered simply vanishing, not because he was defeated, but rather to preserve his peace and allow God to speak to me in silence. Those remarks, which had previously been dismissed as humble thoughts, now appear to be early indicators that Donnie was subtly getting ready to leave public ministry and pursue a more solitary, private path. Will he pursue a career in healing? Some supporters think Donnie is being called into a different form of ministry, while others fear a permanent retirement, one that is founded on healing, therapy, and open communication, particularly in the context of the religious community on bereavement, depression, and emotional trauma. We need more places to cry, more pastors willing to say, "I'm not okay," he said in his most recent live stream, hinting at this new focus. If I can be that space for someone else, then maybe this pain has a purpose. Rumors of a potential podcast or private platform where Donnie would talk more openly about his personal, emotional, and spiritual struggles and encourage others to do the same have been prompted by this. In order to combine his musical legacy with a healing goal, some admirers have even proposed that he start a mental wellness retreat for religious leaders. Will Donnie McClurkin ever sing again? One Christian therapist tweet that went viral says, "If Donnie McClurkin started a safe space for grieving believers, I'd recommend it to every client. We need that voice." Will Donnie ever sing again? Is arguably the most urgent question fans have. The response is, he hasn't said no, but he hasn't said yes either. "Music has always been my therapy, but sometimes even the songs don't soothe," he said in his tearful declaration. "Right now, I don't know when or if I'll pick up the mic again, but I'm letting God decide that." That may sound ambiguous, but it's also incredibly honest. And it appears that Donnie's new season is centered around honesty. According to Gospel Insiders, his music will be different if and when he does return. It will be more acoustic, more pared down, and more about heart than charts. Some fans even conjecture that a new worship album centered on healing, grief, and surrender might be secretly being worked on. If that's the case, we might be seeing the beginning of legacy beyond the stage. Donnie McClurkin's most potent piece to yet. Donnie McClurkin's legacy is safe, whether or not he sings again. He has sold millions of records worldwide, served as a pastor for more than 20 years, ministered to both presidents and prisoners, endured grief, scandal, and disease, and brought many others to Christ by sharing the unvarnished truth of his testimony. His vulnerability, more than just his voice, is what makes him unique. That same vulnerability is now motivating a new generation to lead with integrity, empathy, and consideration for their own mental health as he stands at what may be a turning point in his life. Because Donnie decided to speak up in a world where so many people suffer in silence, and that might have been his best ministry.